Can you even believe it? The greatest ballet queen of the 20th century, the woman who once made the whole world stand up and applaud for dozens of minutes under blinding stage lights, ended her life in a remote pig farm, so poor that she had to sell her last diamond jewelry pieces to pay her husband's hospital bills. People still think Margot Fonteyn lived in eternal glory, with performances packed with audiences, bouquets of bright red roses falling like rain, and the title, Prima Ballerina Assoluta, the highest honor British ballet has ever bestowed. Yet behind those dazzling stage lights was a lifelong tragedy. From the carefree little girl dancing in the suburbs of London, Margot sacrificed almost everything: her peaceful childhood, her health, her reputation, and even her own heart. She loved a man full of ambition and danger, accepted getting involved in a coup, was imprisoned, and then quietly pushed her husband's wheelchair for 25 long years, even while he openly had other lovers. Glamorous on the outside, but tragedy behind. While the whole world hailed her as an immortal symbol of art, Margot Fonteyn was silently enduring unspeakable pain, her body ruined by agonizing arthritis, her heart bleeding from unrequited love, and a life ending in poverty and heartbreaking loneliness. This is not a story about a brilliantly successful ballet queen. This is the story of a woman who dared to give everything for love and art, and the price she had to pay was so high it makes many people shudder with lingering sorrow. So how could an ordinary little girl rise to become a legend, but also have to pay the price with a lifetime of tears, sacrifice, and unending loneliness? Every great journey begins with very small steps, and for Margot Fonteyn, it began in an ordinary house in the suburbs of London in 1923. At that time, the little girl, Margaret Evelyn Hookham, also known affectionately as Peggy, was only 4 years old. One morning, her mother, Mrs. Hilda, instead of turning left down the hill as usual, turned right twice to take Peggy to the house of her dance teacher, Grace Beausistow. Peggy, at that time, was just a carefree little girl who loved to dance. No one could imagine the great ballerina she would become later. Glamorous on the outside, but tragedy behind. Mrs. Hilda did not only take her daughter to classes, but also learned the basic ballet positions herself, so she could guide and check on her daughter every day at home. She followed Peggy closely in every lesson and practice, turning their small house into a discreet stage of perseverance. Peggy was a child with unusually high discipline and always put pressure on herself. Every time a dance exam approached, the little girl would often run a high fever for several days and only recover just in time to enter the examination room. Peggy's first pair of dance shoes was kept by her mother and her teacher, each keeping one shoe like sacred treasures for decades afterward. Her first charity performance took place in July 1924, when Peggy was only 5 years old. The local newspaper praised her solo performance as excellent, and the audience applauded non-stop. At the age of 6, Peggy was taken by her mother to watch a performance by Anna Pavlova, the greatest ballet star of that time. While the entire audience was mesmerized by Pavlova's natural talent, the little Peggy, with her determined innocence, quietly believed that she could also dance just as well, especially in the Irish folk dances. Her father, Mr. Felix Hookham, was a mechanical engineer working for the British American Tobacco Company. His job meant the family could not always be together completely. When Peggy turned 8 years old, the family had to part with her older brother Felix so he could stay at boarding school in England. Peggy, along with her parents, boarded a ship leaving Liverpool port for America. After a short time studying in America, where Mrs. Hilda doubted the quality of local ballet schools and did not let her daughter study, the family continued their journey across the ocean to settle in Shanghai around 1928. Shanghai in the 1930s was a vibrant, chaotic, and colorful Eastern city. Peggy attended the Cathedral School for Girls, where she faced a strict headmistress. Under her mother's urging, she began studying ballet with Russian émigré teachers, including George Goncharov. Mr. Goncharov taught her traditional Russian ballet technique, emphasizing smoothness and deep expressiveness. At first, Peggy was not the most diligent student and was even quite lazy. But her strong competitive nature emerged when she saw other friends like June Bray dancing better than her. It was the international environment in Shanghai and the strict teaching of the Russian instructors that helped her build a solid technical foundation. In 1934, when Peggy was 14 years old, mother and daughter decided to return to England to seek greater opportunities, a risky decision as her father remained in Shanghai. Later, Mr. Felix sent divorce papers home, causing the family to break apart. Right after returning to London, Peggy studied with Serafina Astafyeva, a famous Russian dancer. The transition from strong rhythmic dances to the graceful and delicate ballet style began to awaken real passion in her. Mrs. Hilda remained a devoted manager, tirelessly seeking the best teachers and opportunities for her daughter to shine. But the decision to drop out of school at 14 years old to pursue ballet was a huge gamble by Mrs. Hilda. Shortly after that, Peggy was invited to audition at the Ballet Vic Wells School, the predecessor of the Royal Ballet, later by none other than Ninette de Valois, the woman considered the soul of British ballet. In the 1934 audition, de Valois immediately noticed a little girl standing on the left side of the class. She instantly recognized the potential to become a great talent. Peggy made her debut with the company in 1934 in the role of a snowflake in The Nutcracker. At this time, she was still using the name Peggy Hookham. Glamorous on the outside, but tragedy behind. Her mother and Mrs. de Valois both understood that she needed a stage name that sounded more professional and elegant. The name Margot Fonteyn was not random. It was the result of a meticulous search in the telephone directory by mother and daughter. At first, Mrs. Hilda wanted to use her Brazilian grandfather's surname Fontes, but the relatives in Brazil refused. Not giving up, mother and daughter continued searching and chose the surname Fonteyn because it sounded both elegant and easy to remember. From then on, the name Margot Fonteyn officially appeared on performance programs and began the journey to conquer audiences worldwide. Her first solo role under the new stage name was in 1935 in the ballet The Haunted Ballroom. Margot's career almost faced difficulties right from the early days because of an extremely demanding choreographer, Sir Frederick Ashton, the genius choreographer of the company. At first, Ashton was not impressed with Margot. He found her somewhat stubborn, and her technique still imperfect. During rehearsals for the ballet Le Baiser de la Fée in 1935, Ashton continuously criticized Margot because she danced too softly, lacking the sharpness he wanted. The climax came when Margot burst into loud sobs right on the rehearsal floor and ran to hug Ashton tightly. She cried while saying that she had tried her best. That very moment of sincerity and desperation completely changed the relationship between the two. Ashton realized the absolute effort of his young student. From then on, they became an important duo. Ashton created many exclusive roles to exploit the fragile yet internally powerful beauty of Margot. When the company's #1 star, Alicia Markova, left in 1935, that was the moment the stage called for her successor, Margot Fonteyn. Although she was still a young dancer, Margot was quickly given important leading roles in classic ballets, such as Giselle Swan Lake and The Sleeping Beauty. She received strong support from music director Constant Lambert and dance partner Robert Helpman. They helped her develop not only technique, but also acting ability and deep musical sensitivity. Margot gradually proved to critics that an English dancer could completely handle the leading roles in challenging Russian ballets. By 1939, at the age of 20, she had become the undisputed star of the company and the pride of British ballet. At this time, her life was standing at the threshold of the highest glory, but at the same time, great upheavals of the world also began to strike. When the war broke out in 1939, the British government ordered all theaters to close. The Vic Wells Company fell into unemployment, but only 2 weeks later, they were summoned back to perform for soldiers at military camps across the country. Instead of a grand symphony orchestra, Margot had to dance to the music of 2 old pianos. Her audience at that time was not the upper class in evening gowns, but young soldiers preparing to go to the battlefield and factory workers snatching a moment of rest. In some performances, soldiers disappointed at not seeing more lively shows stood up, banged the chairs loudly, and walked out right while the show was still going on. But Margot and her colleagues still persisted in dancing because they were happy to be standing on stage. The pressure on Margot's legs during this period was extremely great, as the company severely lacked male dancers due to the general mobilization order. She often had to partner with inexperienced male students who had just left school and performed up to 3 or 4 shows per day. Margot once said she was so exhausted that she stood trembling backstage, unable to remember whether she had finished her solo dance and exited or not. One of the most terrifying incidents was in May 1940, when the company was touring in the Netherlands and the German army suddenly attacked. Margot and the entire company had to flee in chaos, leaving behind all luggage and props, and only managed to return to England with the costumes they were wearing. Even when London was bombed during the Blitz campaign, Margot still did not stop. She performed in theaters where the surrounding streets had been completely destroyed by bombs. The audience sitting below still resolutely refused to leave when they heard the sound of exploding bombs. They watched ballet as a symbol of beauty resisting the brutality of war. Amid those silent sacrifices and fierce bombs and bullets, Margot Fonteyn was quietly turning pain and loss into art, a journey full of hidden struggles that only those who have walked through it can truly understand the real price of glory. But while the whole world was immersed in the smoke and bombs of World War II, Margot Fonteyn fell in love with a young man from Panama. It was 1937 when the ballet company came to perform in the university city of Cambridge. Margot met Roberto Tito Arias, an 18-year-old law student. Tito at that time was dancing the rumba with a friend, a dance almost no one in England had seen at that time. Margot was attracted by his charming appearance and the confidence radiating from him. Tito told her about his father, who was the president of Panama, about a luxurious and powerful life on the other side of the ocean. Glamorous on the outside, but tragedy behind. That budding romance was suddenly cut short when World War II broke out in 1939. Tito returned to his homeland and completely lost contact with Margot for 14 long years. Throughout that time, she still always carried his photo with her, like a beautiful, fragile memory of her youth. In 1953, when Margot was at the peak of her glory and touring in New York, Tito suddenly appeared in her dressing room. By then, he had become Panama's ambassador to the United Nations. He already had a wife and 3 children, but he still pursued Margot relentlessly. One morning, Tito suddenly came to her hotel room, sat cross-legged on the floor, and calmly declared, "You know you will marry me, and we will be very happy." Although she knew clearly that Tito was a notorious playboy with many extramarital affairs, Margot was still attracted by his danger and intense political ambition. They married on February 6, 1955 in Paris, in a small, narrow consulate office. After the wedding, Margot's life took a completely new direction. During the day, she was the principal dancer at Covent Garden. In the evenings, she had to put on glamorous outfits to fulfill her duties as the wife of the ambassador in London. She learned how to host diplomatic dinners and how to converse with politicians like Winston Churchill. But the peace of an ambassador's wife did not last long. In early 1959, after Fidel Castro came to power in Cuba, Tito Arias came up with the idea of carrying out a coup in Panama. Margot was not forced, but fully knew and actively participated in her husband's plan. In April 1959, the couple set sail on the yacht Nola under the pretext of going fishing, but in reality, it was to meet a supply ship loaded with weapons. An incident occurred when the small boat carrying the guns sank in shark-infested waters. The captain had to dive down to retrieve each box of ammunition onto the deck. When a Panama police plane began circling overhead, Tito knew the plan had been exposed. He immediately jumped onto a shrimp boat named Elaine to flee to Costa Rica. Margot took on a dangerous task. She sailed her yacht in the opposite direction to act as a decoy, giving her husband more time to escape. The image of a world-renowned ballet star being escorted away by police and thrown into a cell became a scandal that shocked the world. That night, Margot was arrested while at a friend's house and taken straight to the prison in Panama City for questioning. She was detained for 24 hours. After that, she was deported directly to Miami and New York, surrounded by hundreds of reporters and cameras. At the airport, instead of being worried, Margot appeared calm. She even joked that she should enjoy this attention because it was not often that an ordinary citizen was chased by the press like a head of state. Meanwhile, Tito took refuge in the Brazilian embassy and later reunited with Margot in Rio de Janeiro. Although her career was nearly destroyed by this political scandal, Margot still chose to stand by her husband, accepting all risks to protect the man she had loved from the first glance in Cambridge. In 1961, when Margot Fonteyn had turned 42, she was seriously thinking about stopping performing. Her body was beginning to tire after decades of dedication, and she felt she had nothing left to prove. Right at that moment, Rudolf Nureyev, a 23-year-old Russian dancer who had just defected to the West, appeared. When Ninette de Valois suggested that Margot dance with Nureyev in Giselle, she was very hesitant because of the 19-year age gap between them. Margot even jokingly said that it was like an older person dancing with a young one. However, their first performance together at Covent Garden on February 21, 1962, became a historic event. When the curtain fell, the audience stood up and applauded non-stop for 15 minutes, and the couple had to come out to bow 20 times. Nureyev knelt down and kissed Margot's hand in front of thousands of people. Nureyev's youth and energy pulled Margot out of her retirement plans. She had to push beyond her own limits to keep up with him, while her refinement helped balance his powerful style. They were not just dance partners, they were like one body and one soul on the rehearsal floor. Performances such as Marguerite and Armand or Romeo and Juliet, specially choreographed for them, made audiences line up for blocks to buy tickets. In one Romeo and Juliet performance, the audience was so excited that they received 43 curtain calls, and theater staff had to lower the safety curtain to force everyone to leave. However, behind the flowers and cheers, Margot had to endure pain from arthritis in her feet. She never allowed any unflattering photo of Nureyev to be published, and always protected him from prying eyes. Although Nureyev claimed they had a romantic relationship, Margot always kept this private matter secret. Amid the brilliant glow of the stage and the endless hidden struggles, Margot Fonteyn turned every sacrifice into immortal art. On June 8, 1964, while Margot was touring abroad, she received bad news from Panama. Her husband, Tito Arias, had been shot 5 times by a political rival right in the middle of the street. Margot immediately flew back to Panama to stay by the side of the man she loved. Tito survived, but the injury to his spinal cord left him quadriplegic, unable to walk, and with great difficulty speaking for the rest of his life. Instead of collapsing before the unbearable pain, Margot stepped up to shoulder everything. She took Tito to England, to Stoke Mandeville Hospital, the best spinal injury treatment center at that time. Her life became a terrible cycle, waking up at 6 in the morning to care for her husband at the hospital, catching the train to London for rehearsals and performances, then returning to the hospital late at night. She returned to the stage just 2 weeks after the assassination, not out of passion, but because of the enormous medical bills that needed to be paid. Margot and Tito had no accumulated assets or significant pension. Every step she danced on stage at this time carried the weight of basic living expenses. Even when Tito had extramarital affairs and his longtime mistress Annabella Vallerino frequently appeared, whenever Margot was on tour, Margot still chose silence and continued to devotedly care for him. She regularly pushed her husband's wheelchair into government meeting rooms in Panama so he could continue his political work. Margot's loyalty to Tito was unbelievable. She accepted giving up her own comfort to keep her promise to the man she had loved from the first glance in Cambridge. Her career lasted nearly 20 more years beyond the normal retirement age of a dancer, mostly to maintain their livelihood and Tito's medical expenses. In 1979, after being awarded the prestigious title Prima Ballerina Assoluta, on her 60th birthday, Margot officially retired. She left glamorous London to move with Tito to a cattle farm in El Higo, Panama. The small house was located at the end of a nameless dirt road with no telephone. There, she became a real farmer, taking care of a herd of 400 cows, raising 5 dogs, and devoting all her remaining time to Tito. Several times a week, she had to drive to a hotel or restaurant in a nearby town just to make phone calls to Nureyev. Although far from the stage, Margot still wrote books, made documentaries about dance history, and occasionally taught young dancers to earn extra income. The years on the farm, though arduous and lacking, still brought her a peace after a lifetime of storms. The ending of a legend is sometimes quieter and more heartbreaking than any drama she had ever performed. In 1989, right before Tito passed away, Margot discovered she had ovarian cancer. By then, her money had run out due to 25 years of caring for her husband. She even had to sell her jewelry to pay hospital bills. When Nureyev learned of this, he quietly provided her with financial support without anyone knowing. In 1990, the arts community organized a gala night at Covent Garden to raise funds for Margot, with participation from stars like Placido Domingo and Nureyev himself. Margot passed away on February 21, 1991, at a hospital in Panama, exactly on the 29th anniversary of the first time she danced with Nureyev. According to her wishes, she was cremated and her ashes were buried in the same grave with Tito. She left almost penniless in material terms, but left behind a great legacies and a story of love and sacrifice that the world will continue to remember. In the secret world of old, long-established wealthy families, and the spotlight of the stage, Margot Fonteyn proved that the price of privilege and love is sometimes a lifetime of loneliness and silent sacrifice. In the brilliant glow of the Covent Garden stage, Margot Fonteyn was the immortal queen, hailed by the whole world. But in a remote pig farm in Panama, she was just a quiet wife, pushing her husband's wheelchair, caring for a herd of 400 cows, and silently selling her last pieces of jewelry to pay hospital bills. In the secret world of old, long-established wealthy families, Margot chose the most difficult path, loving a man full of ambition and accepting every consequence. She stood by Tito when he was quadriplegic, when he got involved in dangerous games, and even when he had other lovers who appeared publicly. She sacrificed her peak career, her health, her reputation, and her youthful years to keep her promise to the man she had loved from the first glance in Cambridge. That was not a fairy tale about great love. That was a story of silent sacrifice, of a woman willing to trade everything, including the glory that so many crave, just to stay by the side of the man she loved, even though she knew clearly the price could be a lifetime of loneliness and pain. I often think in today's era, when love is sometimes measured by comfort and benefits, Margot's story is a haunting reminder. True love is not the brilliant moments on stage, but the long, quiet nights, wiping tears for her husband, the early mornings, waking up to care for the person she loved, even when she herself was exhausted. Margot Fonteyn proved that sometimes the strongest woman is not the one who shines the brightest, but the one who dares to sacrifice the most silently. She left almost penniless in material terms, but left behind a legacy of love and resilience that makes generations of women shed tears and reflect. If Margot's story touches your heart, if you have ever sacrificed for love, or are wondering whether that sacrifice was worth it, please leave a sincere comment sharing your thoughts. Please give Margot a like to honor her journey full of sacrifice. And if you want to continue listening to profound, upper-class stories, where behind the spotlight, there are always untold pains and inner strength, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We will together explore more illustrious but tear-filled destinies of the old money world. Thank you for staying until the very end. See you in the next video.